to the June 21st, 2018 meeting of the Cabrillo Unified School District. We'll take two. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Cabrillo Unified School District Governing Board meeting. It is June 21st, 2018. Call to order. Board met in closed session from 6:02 till 7 o'clock, and no action was taken. So first, we'll start with the roll call. Oh, no. Are we convening? Oh, sorry.
So now we're at 6, which is...
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, recess. Oh, yeah. Let's go to here. Okay, so we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will leave for today, so we don't have a guest. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first item number 7 of the agenda is adoption of the agenda as presented or amended. We have a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, next item is student, staff, community. Oh, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Okay. I got the shorthand here. Okay, so then we'll move on to item number 8, student and staff community recognition. And seeing as there is none for today, we'll move on to item number 9, comments from the public related to items not on this agenda. So again, as a reminder, we have this opportunity for folks in the public to provide comments. We have a guideline due to California state law. We are not, as the board, permitted to respond to those comments, but we are happy to receive them, and we'll do so at this time. So we have 2 requests today. We'll start with Angela Bolton. Please come to the podium and turn on the microphone. That little face thing in the bottom.
Hi. Hello. Okay, so my name's Angela Bolton. I'm a parent at Hatch, and I'm also a chiropractor. And so I have a experience in the health industry. And the reason I came today was to discuss the mold policy at the district, I guess. So when mold is found in one of the schools around here, what do we do? And so I actually haven't read, I actually don't know if there is a current policy. So I haven't read anything. But there was a recent, they found mold in the heater closets at Hatch. And it just seemed like it could have been dealt with differently to me. And so I actually sent an email out to the board members last night. And so I just have a few highlights from that email that I'll say right now. So let's see. So one, I just wanted it to be acknowledged by the board that there are actually health risks to mold exposure. So I think that's where we have to start, just to know there are health risks. And in the email I quoted studies from the World Health Organization where they talk very specifically about what the risks are, and also that it could be, there are risks for people that have no symptoms to people that have severe symptoms, and basically what's happening is the mold is the trigger, so it just can push people to that next level of I guess symptoms. So, and then number 2, let's see. So it needs to be acknowledged that there is a health risk to mold exposure, whether or not an air quality test is passed. Air quality test. So what I saw were the air quality tests, and everything looked great according to those tests. However, again, according to the World Health Organization, it was this huge, huge research study, they just found there's no acceptable level, and also that it's not the air quality. So they don't even go by air quality. What they do is they say if you can see it, if you can smell it, if there's been water damage, or if there's standing water, there is risk of mold and there is risk to human health. So that would be my request, is if it is found again anywhere, just to move the class, move the teachers, move the kids, so there's no question that it's affecting anyone's health. So that's probably my biggest thing, is like, let's just do that if it ever happens again. And then, let's see, again, let's see what it said. Regarding the mold found in the hatch heater closets, the test showed little mold. However, the visual inspection showed that there was mold on 6/11/18. Okay, I think I covered that. Oh, this just had something, again, it's the, you know, all this testing stuff. There's something about mold actually being heavier than air and kind of being accumulating on the surfaces, so that type of testing should be done. And I heard it was done, but I didn't actually see any of the testing. But again, that might not even be the point, because if we see it or smell it, let's just move the kids and the teachers. And then what else? I just noticed in the reports all the testing was done after the HEPA filter scrubbers run and pump was corrected. So we don't have data from before that happened. It just, I guess it'd be good to know for some people who may have had any health issues, if there was anything that came up on those tests previous to the cleaning. And then whether or not, you know, the air is tested, and at what point in time, I think we just need to let the families know that they just need to be notified. So similar to if kids have lice, and, you know, a student has lice or chickenpox, or there was whooping cough, you know, just let the families know so they can do what they need to do for their kids' health. And the teachers too, because they, you know, they have health issues too. And then finally, it sounds like things are being worked on, but I would still just like to know, like, what the plan is to clean it up, and just a timeline, yeah, dates and timeline for that to happen. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for your time, and thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Thanks, Angela. Our next speaker is Martha Ladd.
Okay, I know this is unusual to have a principal up here making public comment, which speaks to the seriousness of my request. As you know, the federal government has been separating children from their parents as they immigrate to the United States. Infants, toddlers, young children, and adolescents taken from the care of their parents and placed in facilities that are essentially cages. This is a horrific atrocity and is causing tremendous trauma to families. One thing you may not know is that because of the catch-22 nature of processing families, many of these children may never be reunited with their parents. This is more than heartbreaking, it's sickening. I have been making daily calls to my state and federal representatives. I have donated money to groups who work to reunite families. And I will march and protest in the coming weeks and months, provided I'm not working. I stand here before you tonight to ask you to consider a board resolution condemning the actions of our government for using children to strong-arm policy and negotiate budget. I am one voice, and I will use it, and I think wherever we can, we should also use our collective voices to condemn these barbaric practices. That is why I'm asking you to consider a resolution that we may use our collective voice to help end this insanity. Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for considering this request.
Thank you, Martha. Seeing as there are no further comments, we'll proceed our agenda. Item 10, representative reports. So we'll start with CUTA. Sean.
Well, board members, I'm ready to sail away from my last speech up here, but I wanted to end with a real thank you, and that's to the custodians and the groundskeepers and the maintenance workers who are going to get our classes in shipshape condition. So we're ready to hit the ground running in August. So to our to the CSE members, I want to say a big thank you. Thanks for your time.
That's a perfect segue to CSEA. Do we have a representative here? Okay. We'll move on then to our reports, information, presentations. Seeing as there are none, we will move on to item 12. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's item 12, discussion items. So I will refer to Jane for our first topic and only topic under discussion items. The receive and discuss update on the big lift in San Mateo County and Cabrillo Unified School District.
So it is with great pleasure As you may know, Cabrillo is one of the original districts that became involved in the Big Lift. And tonight, Mr. Marco Chavez from the county is here to talk about the Big Lift as we enter our fourth year of participation and our fourth summer school, actually. Very exciting. The district has seen many great results, but Marco is going to give us an update and let us know what's going on.
Thank you very much. So good evening, Vice President King, trustees, Superintendent Gesture, cabinet members, and members of the public. Just coming here, it's like coming home. I get a lot of greetings and hugs. It's great. So great to be back. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share highlights on the Big Lift from a county's perspective, as well as I'll share a little bit about some of the local accomplishments and provide you information on the Big Lift moving forward. I invite you to go on to the biglift.org. There is a great video on that website that will give you a preview or a visual of what happens with our Big Lift families in our schools. So the Big Lift started about 4 years ago with 3 lead agencies leading the work: the San Mateo County, as well as the Silicon Valley Community Foundation and the San Mateo County Office of Education. And the reason was because 51% of entering kindergarten students were not reading proficiently. And that the 51% of the kindergartners were not kindergarten ready going into kindergarten. And 55% of third graders were not reading proficiently. And then when we disaggregate that data by students of color and low-income students, even a larger number. And so with the goal of reaching 80% of students third graders being proficient, this project launched. And so currently, the Big Lift serves 7 districts or 7 communities, and as Superintendent Gesture shared, Cabrillo was one of the pioneers, one of the early adopters of the Big Lift, and they have been great supporters of the work. And so there are 4 strategies that the Big Lift supports, one being the high quality preschool, and high quality being a very intentional 2 words to accompany preschool, the Inspiring Summers program, family engagement, and attendance. And so this slide just represents that by numbers, that about 5,000 children have participated in one of these strategies. In terms of high quality preschool, about 2,003 to 4th grade students have participated in 99 classrooms. This is countywide. And then 1,300 in rising kindergartners to 2nd grade and Inspiring Summers. Family engagement, about 2,000 families. And then we did targeted mailing to decrease absenteeism and chronic absenteeism, and about 7,600 students participated in that. And then in terms of results, collecting data to ensure that we're making progress towards our goal, and that these strategies are really the strategies that have this impact. So there's a proof of concept that we're in, and we want to make sure that these strategies are the right strategies to continue this work. So we partner with the RAND Corporation, and the first study showed that Big Lift's children scored about 27 percentage points on kindergarten readiness than those demographically similar children that did not attend preschool. So that's great news right off the bat, and certainly the children that participate the Inspiring Summers program show gains, and in this case it was about 3.5 months of reading gain versus that summer slide that we typically hear. And then 50% increase in the amount of parents engaging with students related to books, and then 15% reduction of absenteeism. So we're off to a good start. Some good data is coming out of this great work. I just have to say it hasn't been easy. There has been a lot of adjustments since the launch of it, but working with communities like Cabrillo has been very helpful in helping us iron out some of these kinks. This is the profile of the families that we serve, low-income families. These are the demographic or the ethnic breakdown, as well as an important fact is that 83% of the mothers of these children have a high school education or less. And then 74% are English learners or dual language learners. So when we get to the Cabrillo information, certainly thanks to Superintendent Gesture and Assistant Superintendent Dardanelle for leading this work from the district's perspective, but there's an amazing amount of people and agencies that collaborate in this work, and they meet regularly, and you may have seen in the paper today, there was an article on the Big Lift, and that's led, the collaborative team is led by Ms. Elizabeth Shuck. And so in terms of numbers for the Cabrillo, about 129 3 to 5 year olds participate in preschool, and then about 170 students participate in kindergarten to second grade Inspiring Summers. The attendance, about almost 500 students received that mailer, and again, it was targeted students, these students that are frequently absent or that have chronic absenteeism. And then Raising a Reader, 103 families participated. And here's additional information in terms of the data snapshot for Cabrillo. I'll just let you look through it. I don't want to read the slide to you, but it's 20% incoming kindergartners who receive Big Lift. Preschool were kindergarten ready. And there's the other numbers. But I do want to share with you this exciting news, and this is really related to Cabrillo and the Inspiring Summers. And again, this is to the summer slide, and that black bar represents that 2-month summer slide that typically is representative of students that are economically disadvantaged. But in Cabrillo, there was a gain of 2+ months of the Big Lift students that participated in the summer, which is great news. And so in terms of moving forward, certainly funding is an area that we really have been working hard. I know Superintendent Campbell has been very committed to the Big Lift, and she and the superintendents have really worked hard in securing funding for next year. So for next year, we know that we received verbal support from the county board of supervisors to have that funding for next year. So their budget will be adopted, I think, on Tuesday. That was in the paper today. So we're positive, feeling positive there. And then we'll continue to fundraise to ensure. I don't know if you may have also heard that there was a big loss of federal funding that supported the Big Lift. So that's why there's been this energy put towards fundraising. And finally, just to invite you to engage and join us in advocating for the Big Lift and the great work that's happening both here in Cabrillo as well as the entire county. Because I think collectively, if we advocate for these great services, our voices will be heard. So with that, thank you very much, and please, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
What was the lack in federal funding? What was the loss countywide and for our district in particular? Do you have those
it was
numbers?
about $9 million, and this is with the Social Innovation Fund that with the new administration in Washington came in, and that was all wiped out, and we were shocked because it came from very quickly. Yeah.
So how much for our district?
Oh, for our district, I'm not 100% sure, but I can get those numbers. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments?
One comment. So Cabrillo is unusual in its participation in the Big Lift because the number for us was relatively small, not because we're not a large participant, but our preschools are not Cabrillos. So it's CCP, and so they lost a lot. We lost, I don't know, 100,000. I mean, it wasn't.
We lost the stuff in the summer school.
Yeah, we lost for the stuff for the summer school. They took the big hit on the preschool side of the innovation stuff. So CCP was the big, because we're unusual in that we have a part, most of the other districts, it goes straight to them. And for us, it goes to CCP and the partnership that we have with them. And Head Start as well, yeah.
Are they going to be able to continue to serve that population next year then, based on the county funding that's hopefully coming in?
Yes,
Okay.
our intent is that. Right now, we are, for example, this year, we could have grown to include third graders in the summer program, rising third graders, but that was one adjustment that had to be made. Next year, we're looking to ensure, because this cohort of second graders that next year will be going into third grade, we really want to make sure that they're big lift children from preschool. We want to make sure that they get all of the, because of the proof of concept, they get all of the strategies continuously. So we're really focusing on that and ensuring that, you know, any adjustments that are made, that they don't impact the integrity of the program.
Right. Are there any other places that that the county is looking to go to fund? So that I know that the Silicon Valley Community Foundation was a partner in the past. Is there any potential for state funding for some of those, especially the preschool ages? They always are talking about the need for
the district. So we've been in tight contact with the county, was aware this was pending, and we began the process before this last year of getting our preschool state certified and putting a secondary funding stream on it. So we wouldn't, and we're quite pleased to announce we have state certification as a preschool. So we've been able to again buffer this more, because the Big Lift was very good at keeping us communicated and aware of what was going on. And so we have cobbled together some state. We also picked up, Joy's done a great job, we picked up those rising thirds. Cabrillo picked them up from our own programs. And so all of this, again, with tight communication, you know, we know what we were dealing with, we knew how important it was, and we just found some ways to put some stuff together so we could sort of help pick it up. So I'm glad to hear we're going to keep it up. We couldn't have picked up all of it, but we were able to kind of move stuff around and deal.
Okay, and if there's any opportunity in the future for advocacy or resolutions that we could pass for on the state level or federal level, right, influence those things would be, we'd be glad to help. So.
Yeah, you just reminded me of a key component of this partnership is just as you mentioned that you as a district decided that it was important to include these rising third graders. Similarly, La Honda Pescadero has done something similar with their budget. Jefferson Elementary has done similarly, which is great to hear. The other, in terms of advocacy, one finding early on with the Big Lift, as we looked and explored county-wide to expand preschool, the spaces to offer preschool county-wide are limited. So there is a group that's looking at how do we increase spaces. So in terms of advocacy, that may be something that you can also help us. How do we increase and engage new development or developers that are coming in to include preschools or include spaces for preschools?
They just passed a resolution in Santa Cruz County that adds a new fee onto development that goes to funding childcare. Just an FYI. I was talking to a friend who is the consultant on that project, and they just passed it this last Monday or Tuesday morning, I think. Anyways, so just
after-school care?
For preschool. For preschool and after-school care, so the development nexus, if more people are coming in, then, you know, created that. So they actually created a fee for that purpose. So it might be someplace to look.
Thank you. And thank you
I'll just
very
say thank you, and I just want to add a comment. I think Jane's words and your words spoke to, I think, one of the really unique, wonderful aspects of this program that I've had a chance to observe over the last couple of years, and it's that partnership. You guys both said it, and to see groups of individuals that have that same vision and that same goal of supporting our children and being creative and being scientific as far as how we do that, and just really partnering smartly and openly and collaboratively, I think, every day. And I see what you guys have done on this program, the project, it's tremendous. And just the systematic approach and we can't do it, we can do it, okay, next year maybe it's a little different, and just that organic way of working together, I think, is a model for our communities more generally in tackling our seemingly incalcitrant problems, which, you know, you make look easy, but we know it's not. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And summer school is in full swing, or just kicked off Monday. So yeah, I invite you to go visit them. They're great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Okay, so we'll move on to item 13, communications. We'll start with board members. Freya?
Measure M, Measure M, Measure M. I don't know if everyone heard, but as of tonight at 4:30, 55.06%. 55.06%. There might be 100 provisional ballots left to count, and we'll have a final count in the beginning of July. So I was jumping up and down. It's still not a final count, but 55.06, another lesson that every single vote really, really matters. So hopefully it'll be finalized July 5th. We'll know for sure. But wanted to let you all know.
Great. Thank you, Freya. Go to Kirk.
Gee, hard to follow that. Happy summer. I did participate in the graduation ceremony in high school first time. We hosted a great show. A lot of fun, shaking 100 hands or so and seeing those broad smiles on those kids. Over the years, it seems like the number of kids that stand up when the first question is asked, how many kids have been in the district since high school, has gone up. I mean, since kindergarten, has gone up. It had to be over 85%.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like that.
I mean, there were very few people still sitting after that first notch, and that's incredible. And it just speaks to the strength of our district. People understand the value of public school, and they're getting a lot out of it. They're going great places. That's all I have to say. Happy summer, everybody.
So for myself, though, it's being the last board member here for today with 2 absent, it's similarly, it's that time of year we kind of can sit back and reflect and really look at the kids. And I had the opportunity to attend a number of celebrations, promotions, graduations as well, and it's just fantastic to be able to look at them and their accomplishments and their smiles and just feel like, good, have a good summer, kids. I think a lot about the national landscape as well, similar to Martha's comment about all the kind of what the context in which we operate and how that's affecting all of us. And things certainly feels like every week there's a new issue, but it's the same. A lot of the patterns, I think, are causing a lot of anxiety. I know folks saw there was a new survey, the annual survey released from the American Psychiatrists Association, indicating almost 2/3 of American adults have some or extreme anxiety about their finances, or their personal or family safety. So I think these kind of data are important to keep in the back of our minds as we think, clearly it affects many of our interactions, day to day. And yeah, so it's kind of a tough backdrop with all that going on, but with the productivity and thinking and advocacy, I think we can definitely make a dent in things and support one another and continue to, I always feel like, and I'm not that old, but I feel like things go so fast, right? That I always try to, like myself, try to think, how can we help slow things down? So I think that relates to these anxieties and this constant 24-hour news cycle, and everything's like we're texting and got like devices all over our bodies and news all the time. Like, if there are a few things that we can do to support ourselves and one another to slow down and show the empathy we know is deep down inside, when we don't always get to show when we're rushing, and allow time for critical thinking and decision making. I think sometimes things go so fast. Misinformation spreads pretty quickly. So as much as we can slow down, gather things systematically, make decisions, it can be frustrating sometimes, but I think that's good. And just continually, I think, as you guys, I spoke about the big lifts, really demonstrate is it's us, right? There's no the county over there and Silicon Valley Community Foundation over there and the districts, those crazy people out there, like, on the ground. It's us, right? And it's the kids, and let's just get us together to help the kids. And the kids are part of us too anyway. So anyway, summer is a nice time to be able to slow down and do that and go sit up, look out at the beach and take some deep breaths and breathe in that good ionized ocean air and come back nice, fresh, recharged. So again, thank you to everyone who's worked so hard all year. It's not easy, you make it look easy. I hope everyone has a nice chance to recharge their batteries and catch their breath and yeah, have a good one and come back recharged. So that's it for me. So we'll move then to our student board member we don't have here today, so we will progress on to our superintendent, Jane Euster.
So I want to concur, the graduation and promotion ceremonies were just gorgeous and lovely, and it was great to watch the kids and see them moving on in their educational career and how much affection they have for their parents and their teachers and everyone who surrounds them. High school ceremony, some of the kids had so many cords and tassels around them you couldn't even see their neck anymore with all the awards that came out of that class, and all of the, beyond the awards and the academic, all the stoles and sashes for public service. It was a great way to restore your faith in everything, to just sit and watch our kids get award after award after award for their public service, service above self. Pillarcitos ceremony, kids winning scholarships, college scholarships out of Pillarcitos, the first ones ever awarded in the district's history. Very, very exciting, very gratifying to watch kids who have had just unbelievable obstacles overcome, move forward, just really great, and wish everybody a great summer, have a good time, restore, relax, and we'll see everybody in August.
Great, thank you, Jane. Okay, we'll move on to item 14, consent items. We have a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Jessica? Okay, and we'll do an en masse vote. Everyone, aye? All in favor? Aye? So item 15, action items. So first item 15A, approve the 2018-2019 Local Control Accountability Plan. Joy Dardanelle.
Good evening. It felt like last week, at the last board meeting, I presented the Local Control Accountability Plan, and in a short turnaround of time, we took in the revision comments from the county and resubmitted it. And after that, they gave us additional comments, and they were really minor changes after the current version that you're looking at tonight. Those minor changes were in wording, some parts of the data, just for internal consistency in the document. There were also some minor changes to calculations just to match all of the other documents that we refer to outside of the LCAP document itself. I actually watched the board presentation again so that I could take notes better than when I was up there taking notes as you were asking me questions. And in really thinking deeply about the comments that were made, I knew that I couldn't make the major revisions necessary to incorporate all of the ideas, but I think that the ideas that you shared are so important that we do need to have more extended time to think about how we can incorporate this for next year. So what we'd like to do is to really develop a much larger scope of a strategic education plan, and within, and then have the current local control accountability plan really sit within that document. As it's already written, we have different advisory committees that are going to be formed based on the actions in the LCAP, including communication, looking at the education of students with learning disabilities, learning, as well as safety. And those four, which are identified areas for improvement, are, I think, some of the areas that we can really start with in developing that strategic education plan more fully. So I'm asking for the current local control accountability plan that was presented to you to be approved, understanding that there are very minor revisions that the county said this is already approvable, and just make these really small adjustments. You do not need to bring it back to the board for another approval in August. Knowing that next year we will be developing a larger plan in which this local control accountability plan will sit.
right, so do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. You guys are a good team today.
Try to stay with
I
it.
like that you're kind of like trying to alternate it too, that's cool. Okay. So, exactly, just alternate. Okay, so do we, all in favor? Aye, is that right? Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, question or comments, sorry.
Just
Question or
briefly,
comments?
I appreciate that, that response and the fact that you took this information. I think the document is, it's big, it's complex, and it's got many facets to it, but I was generally delighted with what I saw and the plans moving forward. And what you just told us even heightens my excitement about it. I think this is wonderful to see this degree of planning. I mean, I know it's the same game we've been doing forever, education, but it is seeing this written out and the metrics that are going to be used to prove the concepts that, and that we are having an effect is fantastic. It makes me feel very good about the job you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Assistant Superintendent.
Great, thank you very much. Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so now we're ready. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Still are.
Still aye. Just make sure we had that at the end. Okay. So it brings us to the next item, 15B, adopt the 2018 to 2019 district budget. Crystal?
Yes, thank you. On June 7th, we held the public hearing for the 18-19 Cabrillo Unified School District budget. Tonight I bring back to you the approval and adoption of the budget as presented on June 7th.
A motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, and questions or comments?
Did you find one?
Very little.
Did you check the couch cushions?
I did. Did check. No, so it made it pass. It died basically for next year, but they did increase the COLA slightly. Not sure what that's gonna be for us quite yet, but it is still alive and well then for the following year, which is 19-20. So.
Yeah. All right, so, guess then we have a decision to approve. All in favor? Aye. Okay, three, I should say that ends, right? 3 votes in favor. 3-0, because our school board, our school representative. Okay, that brings us to item 15C, adopt resolution authorizing the district to spend funds received in 2017-18 from the Education Protection Account in accordance with Article 13, Section 36 of the California Constitution.
Yes, so every June, I do bring this resolution and ask the board for its approval and adoption. Prop 30, which is the Education Protection Act, also known as EPA, not Environmental Protection, provides school districts an additional per ADA funding. As I say additional, it's not on top of, unfortunately, what our revenue is from the state when we are revenue or LCFF funded. When we were basic aid, it was outside of that formula, so it was something a little additional. So these funds received for the EPA cannot be spent on salaries or benefits for administrators, nor administrative services. So the resolution that I bring to you tonight is proposing that the $630,000, $564, is used towards instructional services, which is the same way that we applied it in previous years.
Motion to approve?
Move to adopt.
Questions or comments? No? Okay, seems there are none. It's a resolution, yep. Okay, so roll call vote, so Fran? Aye. Myself, aye?
Aye.
Okay, passes 3-0. Okay, brings us to item 15D, adopt resolution 1218 to designate authorized representatives of Cabrillo Unified School District as signatories effective July 1, 2018.
Yes.
Crystal?
Yes. Every now and then, usually once a year, we do the updates, but when we have some staffing changes, we're required to come back and adopt a resolution for authorized representatives of the district. And so the resolution before you adds Holly. Removes some previous employees that are no longer with us. So these are the 4 signatories, and then it gives you preference on where they can and cannot sign for.
A motion to approve?
Second.
Second. Questions or comments? Okay. Resolution, so we'll do a roll call vote. I'm gonna start with Ray again. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Passes 3-0. Okay, Crystal? And look, a few more coming up.
A couple more.
All right,
Just gonna
item
leave the mic on.
15E. Approve amendment to lease-back agreement with Block Construction.
Yes, this one I'm very excited to bring to you because this is the start of a very long process, and it will be exciting to start to see some things happen and get us moving in the right direction. So this amendment to the lease-back contract is for the CUNY C building, the repair of the CUNY C building. So this first increment was brought to you increment 1. On September 2017, we approved the original lease-back agreement. And then with the new laws of lease-back, boards cannot adopt and approve the contract in full without DSA-approved plans. So they come back to you actually several times throughout the process. So this process is with increment 1, which is the demolition, basically, of the majority of the building. So this is the amendment to increment 1 for this lease-back. We will bring back increment 2 probably in a couple more months.
Okay. The motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Discussion?
Question. So, we're not going to demolish most of the building. We're good. A large part of the building, there's going to be demolition of components, correct?
Yes.
Just wanted to be clear.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Public that we're not, there's not bulldozers, not.
There probably will be some bulldozers, but the building will be standing. Yes.
It's extensive, but it's
It is extensive demolition, correct.
Not flying, yeah. Okay, good. Any other questions, comments? All right, so we will do an en masse vote for this one. This is amendment, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes 3-0. All right, item 15F, approve Zoom services, incorporated transportation contract for the 18-19 school year for students who receive special education services and attend non-public schools. Crystal.
Yes. So tonight I bring you a contract for Zoom Services, which is a transportation agency that can transport some of our special ed students that go to non-public schools outside of the school district. This was a very exciting project my first project really, that I got to work on with Dr. Wade. And hopefully will also save the district some money as we kind of redesign some of these services and how we're transporting kids. Not to mention, it's just better the way that and Dr. Wade, feel free to talk about this as well, their model for what they have, and the drivers for our students have child care backgrounds and child education backgrounds and so forth. So it's really creates a wraparound service for our kids that we're transporting.
So motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, that's discussion, questions, comments?
No, so, sounds like we're kind of, this has been an ongoing thing, of course, but what's different is maybe there's a quality improvement. That is the transportation time, since we are remote from some other locations for the NPS placements, that maybe now there's a little more, a more pleasant transit, let's just say.
I think one of the features of Zoom that we're really impressed about is that parents are very much engaged in the process. We certainly have been happy with the providers we've used in the past. The costs have risen consistently over the years, but the transparency of this particular agency, parents can track their students, online while they're in the car and where they are. So we're hoping for that interface to be, comforting to parents, but also that the background, I think, of the drivers having that child care experience, I think is not something that we were using in the past. So we're hopeful, and many other districts are using Zoom as well in our area. So
Wonderful. Thank you.
I think it's a great innovation where anytime we can reduce costs and improve quality, it's fantastic. So it's like a win-win for everyone, especially the kids. So thank you. Okay, we can take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, item G. 15G, approve school lunch service contract for the 2018-2019 school year between Nob Hill Catering DBA Lunchmaster and Cabrillo Unified School District. Crystal.
Yes, this is a renewal from our current same provider, just a renewal and extension of the contract into the 18-19 school year.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Okay. Questions, comments?
So, since you're renewing, apparently we're quite satisfied with this service. Is it going flawlessly? I remember when this started 3 years ago.
No, this is a different one. Yeah,
Oh.
so yes, this one. So they actually, Lunchmaster, I believe, worked with the district several years ago before I started. And then we went to a couple different vendors and then now have returned back to Lunchmaster. This is our second year in a row. The children seem to be responsive to the food. Participation's better than it was, and we still work on that. Yeah, but we're just not at capacity to be able to make our lunches here like we do at the high school for the entire school district.
So this covers just Cunha?
This covers all of our elementary schools and Cunha.
All the elementaries too. Okay. Great, thank you.
Kings Mountain as well?
Kings Mountain as well,
Okay.
yes.
Good. There are no more questions and comments. We'll go to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, last but not least, item 15H. Approve Cabrillo Unified School District Governing Board policy updates and adopt the proposed revisions as recommended by the California School Boards Association. Jane?
Yeah, this is normally the way this is placed, and actually, it's not the School Boards Association this time. There was new law passed, AB 699, which California now has outlined that your immigration status is a protected class under law. And therefore, all of the Title IX provisions, all the anti-discrimination, all of the laws pertaining to safety, all have to embrace and handle the protected class. The California law gives us until August to come into compliance. As usual, it's a very short, tight timeline, and literally CSBA hasn't even caught up with this yet. So the board policy that you have in front of you was drafted by County Counsel, who is in touch with this, Claire Cunningham, I think you know. She does the work for all of the superintendents, so all of the school boards in this county will be looking at this whole set of policies that is impacted by the addition of the new protected class. So there are things here about registration in our schools and not being able to ask about immigration status. The recognition that there are programs where we have to have that, for example, for migrant ed, but you cannot ask about it at the time of registration. So it's going to cause the district to do business in a different fashion in order to meet all the state and federal guidelines, and it's clear, the policy makes very clear how we're supposed to do this. And there are policies on the safety plans which talk about now immigration status. There are policies that follow, the board adopted a resolution earlier this year which said that ICE is not welcome on campuses, that we will not turn kids over to ICE. This now memorializes that, takes it a step further. AB 699 did that for us. And so now we have within our board policy the guidelines and operating instructions, both to me as the superintendent, and of course we've already passed and sent them down. We spent time at the retreat that I told you about briefly, where we were making principals aware. There's more than 20 policies here. There will also be updates in our a package that's sent to parents every year that you all get. You're going to see a lot of changes in there because of this new protected class. There are changes in our complaint procedures, our uniform complaint procedures, which have been brought up to date. And in fact, we have a brand new form for uniform complaint. So we finally separated the Williams from a uniform complaint. They're both under the umbrella, but finally we're far clearer, and it includes the new protected class. So all of these are to bring the rule that, you know, immigration status, it's not our problem. Our problem is to educate children. And we will not ask, we will not tell, we will not allow children unless they have subpoena or they have court order. No child is leaving one of our campuses. We also have created and will continue to create strong phone lists, and we will be notifying parents when the presence of ICE comes on our campuses. And now this just puts it into, and I ask you to please approve the policies.
Thank you very much, Jane. We have a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Questions, comments?
I would say that I'm really glad that they're moving so quickly with implementing this. Certainly, looking at the things that have gone on in the United States in the last week, for example, and the whole year, really, there's a lot of anxiety out there. I hope, so what is, I guess I have a small question, which is, how will this be communicated to the most highly impacted group?
So, first of all, it will go out with the packet every parent, so it's in English and in Spanish, that every parent has. We also will be asking our principals as they bring their communities back into session next year to, within their parent meetings, make clear the new policies and procedures involved in the district. This is generally best done site by site by site. If I call a district, 3 people, you know, we won't get a lot, but if we go out site by site by site, we'll make it very clear, and we'll outreach. So Trustee Lane has lovely connections with some, so we'll start outreaching into Moonridge and into the Spanish-speaking communities. But it'll work best when they're back and ready for school, and so we'll just get out there and then on open house nights. So we have some really fast opportunities to make sure it gets out.
Thank you.
I was going to ask that question as well, so Kirk took it. But just want to follow up on that hopefully those other channels, we can also educate folks on the coast so that we can help to reduce some of that anxiety. And this really does reinforce what we passed a year and a half ago. So a year and a half ago we did our resolution. So it'd be good to get that message out to our community that this is something we care about and we support. And I had a more technical question. Are we worried at all about the lack of asking at the beginning of the year impacting our migrant numbers for our migrant program? Or are we feeling like we'll be able to gather that data so that we'll for sure be able to?
We're and Irene, I don't know, she was here, but Irene's already on it. We've already had the discussions about it, and no, we don't think it.
Because there's the benefit of that.
There's a huge benefit,
for those
and so what they'll do is rather than do it at one time at registration, they'll have a separate meeting. So, and literally by separate, I mean like 2 hours after. So before we lose them off campus, we are allowed to come back and then pull the migrants. So it means you can't do it at that moment, but I can call a separate one an hour later and then do it. So.
Well, I'll just add to that, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. And it is nice to have that kind of sense of urgency and kind of just move it forward again because of the political climate and the understandable, the real threats and anxiety that result from that. I think it's fantastic that we're able to implement this as soon as we can. So that's really wonderful. I'm happy to work and support you in the communications as much as is helpful. So I can understand because there are so many changes. It's so wonderful. This table that was up front in the packet, I can't read it, it's so small, but it's like 386 or whatever. Yeah. But the table that had like kind of the chart of the AG model policy, this one. Are all these changes made, the required and recommended changes?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. That's great, 'cause this is a lot easier to read than 100 pages of policy, which is helpful to understand the whole context, but as far as the changes go, this is
We wanted to give you a cheat sheet on
yeah,
this whole
thank you
thing,
so
because
much.
it's huge.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, if there are no other questions and comments, we'll go to vote. All in favor? No, I'm sorry, roll call vote. We'll start with Freya. Is this a resolution, right? Oh, no, it's approval, policy. Okay, we'll do en masse. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. All right, thank you very much. Okay. All right, so that brings us to item 16, future board agenda items. Approve Williams Uniform Complaint Report. Discuss district-wide and site staff development plans. Approve Cabrillo Unified School District Governing Board policy updates and adopt the proposed revisions as recommended by CSBA. July 24th, we have the special governing board retreat, 4 p.m. at Pilarcitos High School multi-use room. August 9th, regular governing board meeting convenes at 7 p.m. right here in the district office. So I don't believe we need to return to closed session. And so we will adjourn the meeting at, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we will adjourn.
First I have to say all.
Oh, all in favor? Are you sure? Okay. Thank goodness that one passed 3-1. Now we can adjourn.